catch me on Pocket Cast, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, and Spotify, as well as Apple Podcasts and many other places, and here on YouTube. Like if you like it, and subscribe if you would subscribe. I would appreciate that more than anything. And any type of comments you want to leave would be awesome. So today we're talking about cloning. Is cloning a good thing? And so what I got here is once again focused on cloning, modern day cloning technology, and how it's done. I got my little box on the YouTube video thing here, so you might not see everything, but just pay attention to what's being said because it's highly educational and intellectually interesting.
Can you spot the two clones? When we talk about clones in science, we mean organisms that are identical copies. They have the same DNA as each other. Identical twins are examples of naturally occurring clones. Both plants and animals can be cloned. Let's start with plants. A gardener, farmer, or plant breeder might want to make many copies of a particular plant quickly. The easiest and cheapest way to do this is to take cuttings. Shoots are cut from the parent plant.
So what they're talking about when it comes to plants, they're just talking about, I think it's called graphing, or it's called something like that, graphing. Well, you can cut like a slit into a tree, like an apple tree, and or a pear tree, and put a little bit of a piece of a banana in a pear tree, and it will grow bananas with the pear tree, believe it or not. That's graphing. And so this form of cloning that they're talking about with plants is just a form of graphing onto, well, not even graphing onto something, it's just making another replica of the same plant, just making it grow. And it's quite interesting, but sorry for interrupting, but let's do this.
Then the end of each shoot is dipped in hormone rooting powder and placed into a pot of soil. The hormone rooting powder will encourage the cutting to start growing roots, and soon a whole new plant will have grown, which is identical to the original plant. The method works because the shoots of the plant contain stem cells, which are able to differentiate to form.
So, stem cells isn't just a thing that is done in humans. With stem cells, when we use it the way Superman did, is we're using the stem cells to be able to fix things that are wrong, but the stem cells come from children, or should I say toddlers, babies, fetuses. And so that's, I guess, where the main source of stem cells come from when it comes to that source of science that Christopher Reeves was doing. I believe it comes from aborted children, because those body parts are being sold to people. It's a very frightening thing. Planned Parenthood is number one behind it, as well as other places that they're aborting children and they're using the body parts for scientific experiments, biological experiments. And so it's actually a sick thing in a way. But in this case, when they're talking about stem cells, they're talking about the ones that are created through vegetation. And so vegetation has its own certain types of stem cells. It's all part of the photosynthesis thing, It's just all things come together in its own way to make life more stronger and more effective in reproducing. And so that's pretty much what's going on here. Oops.
Different cells and tissues. You can find out more about this process by watching this video. However, you might want to produce hundreds of plants from only a small piece of plant tissue. To do this, another method called tissue culture, also known as micropropagation, is used.
Now, this form of micro propagation, or whatever they were just saying, is just a form of trying to put pieces of a plant that into chemical form to create more roots, to make more clones is what they're probably trying to say here, and it's actually very effective, good science for farming. If you ever decide you want to have a farm or you want to work on a farm, and the farmer's having problems trying to grow plants, you can use this method that they're about to talk about to be able to make multiples and plant vegetation like fruits and vegetables everywhere. It's a beautiful form of science. And then you can add all kinds of other plant science in there. There's three main forms of plant science I dig. So if I ever get some land in some form, this would be included, but it wouldn't be the main source because I know two are really effective in trying to grow things to mass proportion and in abundance. So yeah, this whole cloning process with vegetables and plants and just vegetation period is a good thing. So when you're talking about plants being cloned, it's not like humans or mammals or any other kind of animal. Uh, it's more of a survival thing. You want plants to grow so we can eat and survive, and that's the thing. And that goes both for humans and animals. We need vegetation to continue growing strong, and it's all like the form of minerals and things that we need for our body. So plant cloning is a damn good thing. Anyway,
Here are a few cells taken from the parent plant and placed onto a nutrient jelly using antiseptic technique.
Nutrient jelly.
This means making sure no microorganisms contaminate the jelly. The cells will start to differentiate and form new plants. Animals can also be cloned, but different techniques need to be used. In animals, only embryo stem cells have the capability to differentiate all the different types of cells found in an adult. There are two methods you can use. The first is called embryo cloning.
so embryos are always a thing in science, biological science, and it's also where the genome code comes in because you have to figure out what genes and where it comes from, and you have to figure out what genes are stronger, male or female, and then it goes into a whole different things of trying to replicate the strong genes and get rid of the junk DNA. This is the crap I talk about all the time when I talk about gene splicing or replicating DNA. And so embryos are the main source. If you want to know where the research of embryos started, I would say look up Charles Lyell, not Charles Darwin, but Charles Lyell. And he is a German scientist that created a whole thing on embryos way back when, before the 1600s. And so it's something worth trying to understand. And yeah, it's pretty good stuff. It's really good, interesting science in a way. So, but what we're talking about here is embryos with animals, and so it's always a discussion because of Charles Lyell's research. We have a certain way we understand embryos and how it's used in our modern day science.
A farmer might have a cow that gives a lot of milk and wants to use her to create many calves. The cow is artificially inseminated using the sperm of a bull. The embryos grow until they form a ball of embryonic stem cells. Before they become specialized, the embryos are removed from the uterus, divided up into separate embryos, which will all have the same DNA, and then each is placed into the womb of a different cow. These cows are surrogate cows. They are just being used to grow the embryos until they are born. The calves will be clones of each other, but not a clone of the mother due to the bull's sperm. Hopefully, the calves will have the characteristics that the farmer desires, but as sexual reproduction is involved and the genes from both parents are randomly mixed, there is always the chance that they won't.
So in there they're saying that it would be clones, but not clones of the mother. But even though the mother is the one that produces milk, is the whole purpose of trying to clone these cows. But they obtain the father's characteristics, which means that the DNA is a lot stronger within the male that's able to, reproduce and make these clones. So it's more not really a cloning process, but a fertilization process. It's really interesting and complex all at the same time. It's that weird science shit.
There's a way to get around that problem. and that is to use another technique called adult cell cloning.
Now this part here is very complicated and very still intriguing. So adult cell is science is good shit. So I'll shut up and just pay attention.
Is used to form a clone of an adult animal. You might have heard of Dolly the sheep. She was the first mammal to be cloned back in 1996. There are several steps to this process. An unfertilized egg cell is taken from an adult female, and the nucleus is removed. A body cell, such as a skin cell, is taken from a different adult. The nucleus is removed from this adult body cell and is inserted into the egg cell. An electric shock stimulates the egg cell to divide to form an embryo. These embryo cells contain the same genetic information as the adult body cell. When the embryo has developed into a ball of cells, it is inserted into the womb of an adult female surrogate to continue its development.
So the interesting thing about what they're talking about right here when it comes to the sheep and Dolly the sheep or whatever is that it's pretty much an egg cell with a stem graft on top of it. So it's like you're using DNA from another part of the body that's not in the reproductive area to be able to clone this sheep. It's very interesting, but within that different parts of cells, there's a genetic code. So it's some very interesting science here, and it's just amazing that they even went this far. So let's just continue.
So 3 different adults are used. The baby born will be a clone of the adult that donated the body cell because it has the same DNA. This technology is very controversial and raises many ethical issues. One worry is that it could be used to clone humans.
So the ethical part of it, the moral part of it, is where I'm getting at here. Is it morally right to do this? Is it morally right, not just with humans, but with animals? Is it morally right to clone that sheep, to clone the bull and stuff that they're talking about in this study right here? The thing that's weird when they're talking about Dolly the sheep, and you miss it right here in this whole video, is that there was 2 different types of sheeps. You know, there was a different type of sheep, and there was a different type of, I want to say, what do you call it? A ram, I guess is what you call it. Well, I don't know what the hell you call a guy sheep. Yeah, I think it's a ram. It's been a while. It's been a while since I learned this. So, yeah, and it just comes out totally different. I think it had shorter legs than a normal sheep and whatnot. And I don't know how long it lived. And that's the thing. Its lifespan is supposed to be shorter with clones than it is with a regular biological entity that was born genetically, normal. So it's really crazy, but it's interesting science. This is why I wanted to share this stuff, because I think that a lot of people don't really understand cloning, thanks to movies and so forth. But it would be cool to make your own clone if you're a person that doesn't have children or whatever, and you want your bloodline to last. And I think that part makes it more interesting for humans, because with the way the mating process is nowadays, and the way it is when coming to meeting your opposite mate, it's a lot more complicated now, and a lot of people have these ridiculous views that make no sense to me, anybody, or even Jesus himself. So with that being said, if you could clone your own kid and be able to, which would probably be another you, and just fill it in with information that you probably didn't have, it might become more stronger of a person. How to keep the lifespan going to make it last a lot longer, that's the issue. And that's probably the issue that's probably the issue that they do in this type of science. So, kind of like Boba Fett and Jango Fett type of thing. I don't know. I had to go Star Wars on you guys. But anyway.
Questions raised by this might be, how many embryos would be destroyed in order to successfully clone a person? And would the clone have the same human rights as others? So in this video, we have looked at what a clone is, and the different methods used to clone plants and animals.
If you liked the video, give it.
So that's pretty much that one video, which I wanted to get in there first, because this is actually a thing where I'm going to talk about cloning for real. So this is one part of the cloning that I found, and I thought it was a real interesting video. If you guys can, go check out this video. Modern cloning technology, and you can find it on YouTube. But it's just something where it's very interesting, and I think people should know these sciences. You've got to separate regular science from fictional science, which is comic book, movie science, and super science, as well as weird science, and just basic, common, everyday textbook school science. I know it sounds crazy. I broke it down in all those forms. That's the way I look at science. There's many different types. But the main one that everyone knows is science fiction. More than they know basic textbook school science. Even though that's what you start off learning, that gets you interested and compelled to want to know more. So with this though, cloning is a thing where it's almost in the same realm as talking about time travel. Many people believe you can do it, but it hasn't been done. And cloning is the same way. Many people believe cloning can be done, but there's no proof that it has been done when it comes to humans. There's just rumors and, tales. And it's the same thing with evolution in a way too. Most people believe it to be real, when the other half of the population believe it to be a theory, because it's not proven, because no one was here at the beginning. It's the same thing we're trying to talk about creation, and a lot of people don't believe that God created the earth, when in all reality, a lot of science proves to it if you just take the time to look around it and actually understand Genesis in a certain way without trying to throw in rhetoric that you heard from someone else, or someone who is an atheist but tends to want to find ways to shout out something about God or biblical. Most atheists are very well versed in biblical text. Some are just morons because they're idiots at birth. So that was just my opinion on that. Okay, so this next part is from a YouTube channel called, I want to pronounce it right. If I don't pronounce it right, you'll figure it out for me. It's called Ravenna Tech, and they're talking about AI cloning of humans. AI clones humans. So we're gonna get into this, and this one touches on a little bit of something that I talked about in the previous video when they were talking about the future of technology in 2050, and how they were going to plan to clone humans, just clone them with no more need to reproduce, which is just not fun. Okay, I'm trying to say it's not fun. It's fun to love a woman, hold a woman, and the whole thing is fun. You get to do all these fun exercises and flip them around and it's cool. So I don't know what to say about this stuff, but I don't know what to say. So anyway, it's just, they want to take the fun out of it and just make babies, and you got a baby. So, but anyway, so here we go.
AI clones humans. You won't believe this is real. What if someday you have to confront a highly advanced robot who looks just like yourself? Humanoid robots from this generation do not look like the old robots from science fiction. They are literally human clones.
So, what they're talking about with the robotic clones, they do talk about the genetic way a little bit in this video. But when they're talking about robot clones, they're talking about making exact identical robots that look exactly like you, which is the main thing that people have been doing, especially creators of these robots. There's several that made their own robots. The robots they're talking about in this video are the ones that are commonly talked about constantly, except there's other ones behind the scenes that no one sees, and because of this, we don't know what is really being created, and a lot of it's not being explained to the public. Mostly in Asia, these robots are being glamorized and maybe hidden once again from the public there, but I doubt it, because especially in Japan, where every robot is like their friend, it's like, when they started making a lot of these animes, now it's different. You got all the ones where they run around and there's some magical talking cat stupid thing, and they're acting like they're cool, and they dress in all these weird ass costumes and they do all this stuff. But back more in the 80s, 90s, there was always robots in anime, like Gundam Wing, or Voltron and stuff like that, and even Astro Boy. All these robots are like their friends, like their best buddies, and they protect them crap, but it is the way it is. So they would know more about the technology than people in America, which America used robots for military operation. Even in the most funniest robot that was Americanized in a movie was Short Circuit. Short Circuit himself, I can't remember what his real name was, Johnny Five, I think. Even he was made for military operations, and he went against the military and met a chick and fell in love, which makes no sense. How is he going to make love to a chick and he's a robot? And a weird looking one at that. So, Johnny Five. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm having technical difficulties. So, here we go.
Be deceived by them. But this is not a matter of excitement. This can pose a great threat to human civilization. In this video, we are going to talk about the human clones who can turn into foes rather than friends.
So, pausing it there because you said exactly what I'd be saying. It poses a threat to humanity. It poses a threat to our whole civilization. To have something that looks like us that's able to be a sentient being or, how do I say, alternative being that can walk around and do things that we can do. And it's not even cool because so many different problems can occur that pretty people are aware of. Pretty much people are aware of, which is that this technology can take our jobs. This technology can outthink us. This technology could do multiple things that we can't do. But there's things as humans we can do that they can't. We can be able to move more fluently. We're able to walk on certain surfaces that they can't, even though they're advancing in that. They got shoot robots that can do backflips and all kinds of nonsense now. So, yeah, this is a threat to all of mankind.
Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Don't forget to subscribe and like, and also press the bell icon to never miss an update about artificial intelligence, robotics, and future technology. That being said, let's begin. Without a question, robotic technology has made a significant contribution to humanity in a variety of areas. However, numerous research have concluded that robots constitute a threat to humanity. You know that robots aren't new. They've been around for a decade.
They said decade, but it's actually about 3 decades now. Even more than that because, even when I was a kid, they had the Jetsons and all that shit rolling around and talking about flying cars, which, I guess, Neil deGrasse Tyson was saying helicopters are pretty much that. So it's just a whole different thing. So the science with robots has been around for a very long time. The way is damn near factories always have robots doing most of the hard work, and we're just doing the stuff that the robots can't do.
And we've been talking about them for a long time. However, because of advancement in technology and ongoing research, they are now evolving.
So they want to consider, that's the thing I trip on too, is they say that robots evolve. Like, they have evolved because of the technology that we have put into them. But they didn't evolve naturally. It's the whole thing of natural being in one that's altered, like a false evolution, a false, it's a false way of reproducing and creating, and it doesn't make any sense that they're trying to use that term in a way. Just use the regular word grow. They're able to grow a certain way. I think the word evolution gets thrown around a lot in different ways. It doesn't really hold weight, make sense. It's just like when they talk about woke. I haven't really heard it a lot lately, but they still say it. Oh, this is woke society. What are you woke for? It's like you're woke of something that everyone's aware of. It makes no sense. Everyone's aware that the world's changing because you guys have different beliefs and chaotic thoughts, but no one's really woke. I believe a woke person would be like Jesus or Buddha or someone that reaches enlightenment, some kind of ability that no other human has, that's able to see things that no one else can see. That's a form of wokeness to me. Not just, you realize all of a sudden one day, you haven't dealt with racism your whole life, and then one day you realize, there's racism, and so now you're woke. No, that's stupid. That's stupid. And it just means you never felt that experience until that moment. That doesn't mean you're woke, because everyone feels some form of bigotry, hatred, and evil in some kind of way. So you're not woke. You're just now more aware and more alert to what will happen and occur with certain types of people in your life. So that's the thing I look at. And so even with this situation, I'm most likely probably getting your woke. And sorry for those that hear that noise on Spotify, because that means this retarded chick keeps texting me. So, so yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I don't even know where I was going with that. But the whole point is that the science can go out of hand real quick, and it can be deadly to all of us if it's not checked. I'm not saying it's going to turn into, a Skynet Terminator type of thing, but the situation is critical because we don't know what the true intentions of making these robots, except for what they've been doing and presenting them as sex robots. And they got some, like right now they got Sophia, the main robot that's a citizen of Iraq, right in front of us, which makes no sense because it's a freaking android that's like a human pretty much because became a citizen. So anyway, let me quit. Here we go.
In the industrial, agricultural, and other sectors, they are going to be inevitable in the future. Many new countries have joined the robot revolution. Particular types of robots, each specializing in a different element, are now a reality. But the introduction of robot clones has created a whole new set of problems. Is it necessary to obtain permission from the person whose image is being utilized if robot clones can look like anyone? Do robot clones trespass on other people's privacy? What happens if someone is adamantly opposed to being cloned by a robot? There are significant ethical questions regarding justice, autonomy, and maleficence that have yet to be addressed in these cases. Most of the worries revolved around the issues that scientists are acting as gods. However, many of these worries stem from Western religious traditions. Eastern religions, particularly those that believe in reincarnation, were unconcerned with genetic cloning. Perhaps this explains why robot clones...
I don't think, how can I say this? I don't believe that any type of cloning is actually morally right in some kind of ways, especially when it comes to technology. We have to, as people, work on ourselves before creating something that might take us away from our humanity, from our consciousness, our sense of what's right and what's wrong. I believe us as people have to advance to a certain level where we have harmony amongst ourselves before we let something like a robot or any kind of clone integrate our society. And because of that, the same hatred we have towards each other, we will just put on them. And unless we have a reason to, I believe that this type of research needs to be put on the back burner for a while until we're able to understand humanity for ourselves. There's still things about Earth we don't understand, and everyone has an opinion on what on Earth is and how long it's been and what's there and what's not there. So I don't think that we need to focus more on making all these concepts. I think we need to focus on trying to fix the problems we have amongst ourselves, and then worry about how we can get these things in our society to help move us steadily forward as a species to be able to continue to live on as a culture, a big culture of humans for an eternity.
Have been accepted so readily in Japan. Let us look at the issue of threat to humanity. The other side of this technology has always been shown as major problems by many scholars. Stephen Hawking, a theoretical physicist and cosmologist, predicted that robots would eventually replace humans as robotic technology has advanced quicker than expected. He also predicted that artificial intelligence could one day completely replace humans. According to founder, Professor Hiroshi Ishiguro, social robots will soon be integrated into our homes and workplaces, and they may perform better than humans. On top of that...
So that's the thing that I'm talking about there. They want to integrate it into the workplace, which means we already have a problem with people wanting to work and having work and so forth. And so if you put these robots in that can actually do the job for us, then you have no need to hire people. You have no need for people to work, which means a lot of people are not making money and finding it hard to survive. So if you make these things right now, and this is the exact point I was just saying about not understanding ourselves. So how can you put something in there that can understand the job better than you and be able to take over your whole thing? I mean, they haven't made spatially sprockets, and we don't have buttons to sit down and press, and Rudy the robots and stuff. And I know I just broke it into the whole George Jetson thing, but yes, we have to look at the Jetsons because this is the 21st century, and they're supposed to exist, and there's supposed to be sidewalks that move, like at the airport.
There is also a major concern that humanoid robots are being given exactly the same looks as humans. Ishiguro actually built one, which has near perfect looks like humans, with silicone skin, actuators, electronics, and it exactly looks like the scientist himself. It means Ishiguro can be in 2 locations at once. He sends his robot clone to give lectures at conferences all around the world on a regular basis. Of course, his robot can't answer questions. That's something he has to do manually, but the lesson is automated. It speaks in his voice, and people readily accept his likeness. They even like his doppelganger more than the actual Ishiguro. It's like having a twin brother, he explained, only a bit weirder. He claims that looking at his android clone is more like looking at a photograph than seeing his own reflection. More interestingly, Promobot, a Russian business, is currently selling self-driving androids that can be customized to appear like anyone on Earth.
And so this is like, yes, this is very terrifying in a way. If you can make a robot that looks exactly like you. But with that one person, Shito, I guess his name is, he's made one that looks like a younger version of himself. Doesn't look exactly 100% like him. And like he says, you have to pre-program what he's going to say. Things like that. So what's the purpose of this? There's also a video which I have to find somewhere where William Shatner has been putting his own thoughts and memories into a robotic system. I think it's maybe AI or some form of robot, so to be able to have him here when he's gone. So it's like he never dies and stuff. So that's interesting as hell. And I think William Shatner's 94 now or something. But either way, it's pretty cool in a way because like, hey, you can live forever through, after you pass with your memories and thought. But is it truly you? So it's like, I think the black spots with stuff like that, when you gotta go, is that truly you, or is it true? Are you truly alive after you died? Because your consciousness or your memories and your personality and all the stuff that you know has been put into this robot. Truly, there has to be some memories that you have not shared, some things that you're trying to hide about yourself that you wouldn't put into these AI. So even if you were to create artificial intelligence of yourself, you would still have memories that are missing, lost moments in time, things we all forget as we get older. So that's the part that makes no sense. And then once again, the issue of a soul becomes the biggest concept. Is like, do these things have souls, or would it be your own soul just based off of memories? I don't think so. Even though I do believe the soul is harnessed somewhere within the brain as well as through the body itself, I believe that you would have a gap in so many ways. The connection is lost. It's just I think that's the part that makes it more science fiction, more dark horror science fiction, because the uncertainty of knowing if it's alive is terrifying.
Promobot is currently working on 4 different robot clones, with a total of 10 orders placed. The company also developed robot clones for a Middle Eastern family. These 2 robots from the Middle Eastern family were to be addressed as the family's mother and father and would be in charge of greeting visitors. Aside from being an unusual host, the creepiness level for visitors is likely to be quite high. According to Promobot's website, the Robo-C can't walk, but its neck and torso each have 3 degrees of freedom of movement. It has 18 movable pieces on its face, allowing it to make 6
Okay, so there we go.
micro-expressions, and its AI has 100,000 speech modules. It can also work as a companion robot at home, reading the news or controlling smart appliances. Essentially, an anthropomorphic smart speaker. It can also conduct office jobs like answering client questions, accepting payments, and performing other functions in places like offices, airports, banks, and museums. As the world knows, in the field of industrial robotics, Japan has remained the world's leading exporter of robots in terms of both dollar value and number of operating units. In 2012, Japan delivered 3.4 billion yen worth of robots, according to over half of the global market share.
Now you gotta understand, and I said this in a previous episode, that the currency is totally different in the country. They're saying 1 point whatever billion yen, which probably means million or hundreds of thousands. Who know? I can't remember how yen works. Like I think it's like they say 100,000 yen. It's actually $100 in American currency. It's something like that. If I remember right, the last time I checked on Japanese currency compared to American currency, one U.S. dollar is 120 yen. So something weird like that. So their money price is totally different, which means you could probably go to Japan and obtain one of these robots for a lot cheaper than you would expect, because you're hearing this 100,000 something when it's really probably about just $1,000 or something like that. And so totally different currency value is way more higher in America than it is in Japan. So just try to figure the math out, try to understand it, or go to Japan or research it. And maybe if you're interested in getting one of these droids or androids or AI bots, I don't know what the exact term is, and you can maybe obtain one.
Japan has close to 300,000 functioning units, accounting for roughly 23% of the global market share. Humanoid entertainment robots, androids, animal robots, social robots, guard robots, and other robots are all popular in Japan.
So social robots, guard robots, animal robots, and stuff, and that's crazy. All these different type of robots. Like I said, Japan got a name for all of them. You just heard it, and so that means that robots are truly actually their friends in Japan. They truly believe this, and somehow it's part of their culture. I don't know if it's just because they made a whole shitload of cartoons with robots, and the kids grew up like, hey, we like robots, and then they just became a thing all across their culture. You know, it's kind of like how we grew up with a whole bunch of sitcoms of a family unit, and people in America believe that when they think about having families, they think about a TV show and how their family's supposed to be. Maybe that's the concept. I'm not sure, because nowadays it's not that much of a strong family unit in the States. But it doesn't mean that it's not true. It's the same thing with robots here. They have it just main part of their entertainment. So it could be true that they're their main friends and stuff, even though I believe that the samurai ninja stuff is cooler. So, yeah.
Each type has a unique set of traits. Over 250,000 industrial robot laborers operate in Japan. For the past 2 decades, Japanese academics and scientists have been investigating robot clones. In reality, some robots have made their way into everyday life. Erika Aoi, the robot, worked as a robot journalist announcer for Nippon Television Network. She has spoken on themes such as robots and fashion, as well as conducting interviews. There is widespread acceptance in Japanese society, with no reservations about robo-ethics or other difficulties. The gradually increasing intent to make human-like robots can be observed over the globe. David Hansen created Hansen Robotics Limited, a Hong Kong-based engineering and robotics firm noted for developing human-like robots with artificial intelligence for consumer, entertainment, service, healthcare, and research applications.
So Hansen Robotics is known to, well, pretty much what I've seen, and what studying and researching and watching all this stuff, is that Hansen Robotics claims to be the #1 on robotic technology. And I beg to differ, because there's this place in Japan, or China, excuse me, this place in China that makes very impressive, realistic robot women and stuff. This don't put all the silicone skin and stuff on it yet, but it moves and walks around and everything. And it's very lifelike compared to Sophia here, which is their #1 spokesperson, kind of like Ronald McDonald for the Hansen Company of Robotics. You know, everyone knows who she is. She's hung out with Will Smith. She's been on talk shows. She got a little baby Sophia, or whatever it's called, to teach kids about coding and the cosmos. which is interesting. But still, I would have to say, with some of these robotic companies, if they were going to make an efficient ones, the ones that are able to make them walk on their own and able to at the same time be able to obtain knowledge and stuff like that, and all that should combine and collaborate to make the efficient robot that they want to make, instead of just claiming that one company is better than the other. So it's pretty much like, like you have the fast food wars and stuff, and you got the rap wars and all this crap. You got robotic wars here with companies. The Hanson company, then you got the Real Dog company now that makes their smart girl robot thingies, and you got so many other places that's making all these robots. But Hanson company claims to be number one, but they're not even an American-based company, and America's based company doesn't really have droids. I think Elon Musk is the number one on trying to make these things with the meta droids he made, which actually are very impressive on how they make their faces look and come out perfect. So yeah, I think Elon Musk is a genius with how he did his technology there, as well as some of these other guys. But if collaboration could go in so many different ways, then it would make more sense. But I think Japan tops the goal, and one you don't really hear about it, but you have not seen it, and I have not seen it. But they have robots in Japan that can be wives and be able to give birth without having a female embryo or egg or whatever. No artificial insemination within the robot, but just using the male's replicated DNA as his own to create a child, which means there's no need for a woman. It means that in that science, that woman is just an incubator and just holds the baby, but doesn't help create the baby. Like I said, weird science. That's weird science.
Albert Hubo, the world's first walking robot with human-like expressions, Bina 48, an interactive humanoid robot bust, and Sophia, the world's first robot citizen, are among the robots on the achievement list of Hanson Robotics. I think
So he just named 3 robots that Hanson Robotics makes that are all supposed to be number 1 in robotics. Sophia being the main one still. I'm just saying, she's still the main robot that they use to represent Hanson Robotics. And so I know it sounds like I'm just hating on Hanson Robotics. It's just I've seen other robotic technology that outweighs Hanson Robotics. Seriously, who wants to look at a robot where half of their face looks real and the back looks like a robot? And for those that ain't so comfortable with technology and ain't comfortable with this at all, will be freaked out by the fact that there's gears moving around in a person's head that has a face that looks like a human. And so it just doesn't make sense. And I believe there's other people that are way more advanced. And like you see, when the Japanese make a robot, they go all out and it looks almost exactly, damn near exactly like a human, except for the fact that you can tell some ways that the skin, the face, doesn't look authentic. And so that's just my opinion.
we don't need to tell you Albert Hubo takes after whom, right? So moving on to Bina 48. Bina 48 is a robot that can tell jokes, read poetry, and imitate human speech. Bina 48 is based on Bina Aspen, the wife of United Therapeutics CEO Martine Rothblatt. Bina 48 is one of the most sophisticated robots ever built, capable of independent thought and emotion. The robot clone has a head and body that are remarkably similar to Bina in real life. Her skin is composed of a material called frubber, which allows her to scowl, grin, and seem perplexed thanks to 30 motors beneath it.
It says she's made out of flubber. I think that's like that movie Flubber, or whatever it is. You put the goo on the bottom of the tennis shoe and they can play basketball. At least in the original one. I tried to watch the other one, with Williams, and Robert Williams, but I couldn't really get into it. But the original one, black and white, that became colored one, that's pretty cool. Flubber.
Now, if I ask you how you will use this robot, clones, if you get the authority over your robot clone, think and also let us know in the comment section. But for now, I am going to tell you a news which stated that the scientists hope to employ artificial intelligence.
So, pause it there. So it says if you get authority to use your robot clone. So that automatically means if they make a look-alike robot that looks exactly like you might not have authority of it at all. Which means your image is out there walking around doing robotic stupid shit. And it looks like you. Looks like you, probably talks like you, walks like you. You know, it's like that song from freaking The Jungle Book. Scooby-Doo, I wanna be like you. I wanna walk like you, talk like you. Boo boo boo. You know it's true, true, true. You know, that stupid shit. And it makes no sense. But seriously, why did you have rights to your own image? So it makes no sense that they make something that looks exactly like you and you don't have rights to your own image. So what are they trying to prove here? Because of the fact that they put the technology in there, that they have the rights. So let's say you're a wealthy person and you say, okay, I want a robot that looks like me, or looks like my wife or son or whatever. And then when you're doing so, they're able to say you don't own the rights to this thing because we created it and we added all these features to it and gave it the ability to do its thing. So it's really crazy that they won't even allow you to have that, even if you were able to fund it for yourself. I just think it's crazy. It just doesn't make sense.
Intelligence to make the androids speak like the dead persons they replace, adopting their voices and mannerisms, according to an article in the Naked Daily. It means, virtually, that deceased person is going to be immortal. Insane! A Swedish funeral home is looking for people to give permission to recreate their deceased loved ones as part of a research and development project.
So positive there again, because now we're hitting what I would say in something that's not morally right, okay? Because, you know, you're dishonoring the dead, you're disrespecting the dead, you're digging up dead people, things like that, you know, getting into Dr. Frankenstein territory. You know, and it makes no sense because, you know, now you're supposed to let your dead rest. They lived a life. They went through hell. Anybody that can make it to the end without taking themselves out or committing the most heinous of acts deserves the rest. You know, especially if they created more people like them, like babies and kids and family. And they need to take their chill and rest for the rest of their eternity until they feel like coming back through God. You know, God said, hey, okay, I'm going to give you a second chance on earth. Bang, you're back. You know, now you're your grandson or your great-grandson. You're your own grandpa or something. Yeah. Anyway, so that's the whole thing of that type of science. It's disgraceful. It's disgracing the dead. It's dishonoring them. It's disgracing them. And why you would want to take their voice and replicate it is crazy. So they got the thing on Martin Luther King, and I see it on the AI thing, and he talks like he's alive, using his voice, using his image to move. They got a thing to bring back actors that have passed and try to make them talk and stuff and be able to put them in the films again. I think that's probably because they believe there's no real good actors anymore, and they're probably tired of trying to find them. But everybody that wants to be famous wouldn't mind being an actor. So it's just some weird science, and that's, like I said, hitting Dr. Frankenstein territory. But you gotta give Dr. Frankenstein some credit, okay? He was able to take a bunch of body parts and be able to reanimate it through electricity. Now, that's something that's pondered me for a minute, because electricity is exactly what we have. Or when you have the ambulance people do those things and paddles and whoosh, bring us back, or, you know, you hit something with a fork in the freaking light socket and you know, and you can pass out, or tasers, you know. So I believe our soul, our spark, you know, is the thing that keeps us alive. We got to find a way to harness that energy, strengthen that energy, and if we can, then we will be eternal forever. You know, and so maybe there's a collaboration of all energy coming together to make the ultimate of life. It's something I thought about before. If we all are made of energy, then if we had all the energy put together combined, then obviously there might be a greater life form, which in some cases would be God. And I'm just saying, this is so much science, it's so heavy, and I'm like, you know, just thinking about this stuff, it blows your mind. But anyway.
This is certainly science fiction material. Many films and television shows have depicted sentient robots and clones of dead individuals, but to achieve this in real life is going to be absolutely amazing for mankind. However, no one has publicly attempted to reproduce such events in real life until recently. It's unclear where the law sits on this, but finding out would be fascinating. There may not be any rules in place for such.
So he said to figure out what the law is on this reanimating of voices and whatnot of the dead. And then, and even in there, you're not talking like just robotics. You're talking cyborgs. You're talking about reanimating dead people through technology. So it'll be a cyborg. It'd be like bringing back like freaking robotic man, or trying to create cyborg on the DC universe cyborg, or anything like that. And I think the thing that's complicated and messed up about that is then what part of it would be robot and what part of it would be human? Is it humanity being overtaken by technology, or is it being held prisoner by the technology? So, like I said, this is heavy stuff. This is weird science, some and horror science in a way, and hits Frankenstein levels of crazy.
Situations, but it might be time to start establishing them, as many technology experts anticipate clones and androids.
This is way too much. It's just like you gotta think about this. Like, why even go there? If that's the case, then maybe you should have started there. But then again, what is the ethical meaning of this? What is the crime against humanity in doing so? And is there any laws brought up about making dead people get reanimated through cybernetic enhancements? This is a really odd issue to talk about and really complicated. Is it morally right or wrong? I would have to say it's somewhat wrong. Because, well, if it's wrong for Victor Frankenstein, then it's wrong for these people to sit there and add technology to human corpses and whatnot. If that's the case, you got to bring back everybody's dead puppy. That way everyone's happy again. And yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It sounds stupid, but yes. This is a moral issue that is complicated. I'm going to end it because I can go on and on about this, and very intriguing to me. And maybe I do a second part of this cloning thing. This part here really isn't cloning. It's more about making things that look like you. You can make a teddy bear look like you if you wanted to, some kind of doll or something. You can make anything look like you nowadays. But the thing about it is, that's more scientific, or should I say, technological, instead of biological, which I started off this video and podcast with, is to talk about a biological cloning. Either way, it's all morally wrong. The best way is to do it the old-fashioned way, where it's a lot of fun, and you're slapping each other around, and you're making those noises and saying weird shit when you're doing it. And this is like, I don't know, just like having fun. So that's the best way, the only way that is truly efficient. And so, yeah, I'm down with that, and you should be down with that too. And with that all being said, the moral person that's right here would be God, not the scientists that want to create something that might be an abomination or ultimately end humanity all in one whop. So with that being said, peace be with you all, and blessings upon you always. Like, strive, share, subscribe. I was like, I'm trying to say share and subscribe, and it's like, share. And just, yeah, catch you next time. Peace.